Fluid Engine is here, and there's a lot of new layouts that we can now do. However, there's one glaring problem, and that is this spacing issue on tablet devices. So, for example, we have this text and button right here, very basic, looks good on desktop. On mobile, same thing, looks pretty good. However, if we look at this maybe on a tablet-sized device, if I shrink my size, we get this huge spacing in between our text and our button. What the heck is that? Where is that coming from, and how do we fix it right now? All right, first let's take a quick look at where that spacing is coming from. So on Fluid Engine websites, or on Fluid Engine sections, we're moving items around based on a grid. So if you just hit G, you'll see the grid pop up. And we can move any block, maybe a text block, a button block, an image block. We can move that block around and resize it to fill up a certain number of cells in that grid. Now we have two different grids we can design for. We have a desktop grid right here, and this is what we're looking at right now, and it's 24 columns across. We can adjust however many rows we want. And we also have a mobile grid, and this mobile grid is 8 columns across. Now when we place items, when we place blocks on that grid, Squarespace remembers the number of cells, the number of columns and rows that a block takes up. So for example, this text block right now is taking up 8 columns across and 11 rows down. So Squarespace remembers this block must take up 8 rows or 8 columns and 11 rows. However, there is a problem. I can't move this any smaller. This block is sized by the content within it. It is sized intrinsically. The content within it is preventing this block from getting any smaller. That's unlike maybe say an image block, where it doesn't matter what the content is. I can size it however I want. This is sized extrinsically. And so we're prevented from going any small. But that's fine, right? This looks good. The button is touching up right against the text right here. That's totally fine. However, we're editing this on a device that is right here. This is 428 pixels across, and that is what we're editing it on. This breakpoint, we get this new 8-column layout on any device that's under 750 pixels. So let's take a look at that. So let's go over to desktop view. Let's pull up this again, and we see that big space. And we can also see, because we're seeing our grid right here, we can also see what the problem is. Our text block is still taking up those 8 columns across and our 11 rows down. However, because we have a wider screen, our text doesn't need nearly as many line breaks. It only has 4 line breaks as opposed to I think 6 earlier, and that might even go down to maybe not to less. And we also have this giant space. The cells are taller than they were on a smaller device. The cell height, the row height of our grid adjusts based on the width of the screen. And so these two factors, the fact that the text needs less space because there's more space, and so the text needs less line breaks, and these cell heights are growing, that is what is contributing to this extra space. And couple that with the fact that on mobile, this is intrinsically sized. I can't make this any smaller. I can't make this only take up 2 or 3 columns. So that is what we need to do. We need to edit this section on a device that is right at that 750 pixel breakpoint. And that will allow us to create the smallest text block possible. So let's do that. All right, so if you're watching this on YouTube, there should be a link down below. Over on my website, down at the bottom of my article, you will see where some code is. So we're gonna put these 2 pieces of code on our website. This will allow for us to edit our text block on a larger device, on 750 pixels, 749 if we want. So I'm gonna hit copy on this first bit of code, and I'm gonna go to Settings, Advanced, Code Injection, and paste this code right here in the footer area, just like that. And now this next bit of code, I'm gonna paste that into the Custom CSS area. So I'm gonna go to Design, Custom CSS. Now let's go over to my website, grab that, just hit that copy button, and hit paste. So remember that breakpoint between desktop, where we have this 24 column grid right here, and mobile, where we get this 8 column grid, is 750 pixels. And so you're seeing the effects of this code. Notice my website, this is now 749 pixels across, and that is corresponding to the value that I've put in here. So the standard Squarespace mobile mode is 428 pixels. So if you hit save and you toggle back into mobile view, now it's 458. So whatever you change this value to, that is what the mobile view in your Squarespace editor is going to show. So now that our mobile breakpoint is 749 pixels right here on our mobile view, now I can go into edit mode, and let's hit our mobile view and pull this up. Now I can remove all of that extra space, move up our button how I like it, and then pull out, remove all those extra rows as well. So now I'm just gonna hit done save. Now you might be asking, well, how does this look now on mobile? Does this still look good on mobile? Well, let's just take a look. Let's bump this back down to 428, save. Let's go desktop and then back into mobile. And that looks pretty good. And we can also do the same thing if we want to just look at it responsively. I'm going to pull up my web inspector and we'll just move it around. And that is much, much better. That spacing there. We still have maybe a little bit of a gap over there, but we can fix that changing the vertical alignment of this text. So I'm going to hit edit, jump into this text. I'm going to vertically align this text block down to the bottom. And then I'm also going to do the same thing because you can change the vertical alignment based on mobile or desktop. You can have different ones. I'm going to change this one down to the bottom as well. Okay. Oh, one final thing I wanted to show you. So if we go into the edit mode, you can see on our mobile view, if we turn on the grid, our text block is now 8 columns wide, but only 4 rows tall, right? So let's go back on mobile and take a look at that. What is happening there on mobile? So if we go to 428 pixels, we hit edit, we go to our mobile view, turn on our grid. You notice it's still that same 8 columns wide and 4 rows tall. However, each row is stretched so that this content can fill. Each row is stretched evenly so the content within it can fill. Now, this is something you need to be careful of because I don't think Squarespace really likes you doing this. It wants to just force the extra space for some reason. I'm not really too sure why. So if you try and edit this now, if you try and edit this on anything, notice all of those rows just reset. And now our spacing problem is back. Now we have these 11 rows again. So when you're editing text, be sure you're in this 749 right there. Be sure you're right in there because that is what's going to allow you to keep all that extra space removed. When you edit it back on the 428 breakpoint, it'll just add that extra space right back in. All right, so if this helped you, consider buying me a coffee to support more of these tutorials and plugins. I love doing this, but it does take time and energy away from other things, and this helps me continue to do more of these. All right, so take that code, enjoy it, and keep building.